Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at just one source today, but it's a really comprehensive travel article all about Romania.
Right.
And our mission basically is to pull out the highlights from this piece, what it says about the landscapes, the culture, what makes Romania tick according to this source.
Yeah, and the article really positions Romania as somewhere travelers should maybe pay more attention to. It keeps calling it a hidden gem in Eastern Europe.
A hidden gem. I like that.
It does. It paints this picture of, legends, amazing scenery, history, nature, adventure, kind of bundles it all together.
Okay, so digging into what the source actually lays out. Why Romania? Why should you think about going there based on this article?
But one of the first things it highlights is this interesting mix of really old traditions still existing right alongside modern life.
So not just museums, but living culture.
Exactly, something you can apparently feel across the country. And the cultural background sounds incredibly rich.
Layered, yeah. It mentions Roman, Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian influences, all shaping this unique sort of cultural mosaic.
Right. You can just imagine how that appears in everything. The buildings, the food, the traditions. It sounds like a place with really deep roots.
Absolutely. And then there's the geography. The article describes it as really diverse.
Oh, definitely. You've got the Danube Delta, huge wetlands, then the Black Sea coast, the Carpathian Mountains running through it, and those famous rolling hills in Transylvania.
It's like several different countries packed into one almost.
Kind of, yeah. That's the impression it gives. And a really practical point the source makes, which is always important.
Money.
Yeah, affordability. It explicitly says Romania offers great value, luxury stays, eating out, sightseeing. The article suggests your money goes further here.
That's a big plus. It makes seeing all that variety more achievable, I guess.
For sure. And the article then sort of takes us on a tour, region by region, starting with Bucharest, the capital.
Right, Bucharest. Nicknamed Little Paris in the source. Sounds charming.
It does. Described as lively, vibrant. A mix of that old charm and modern energy.
And specific sites. What does the article point out?
Well, the big one is the Palace of the Parliament. The article makes a point of saying it's one of the world's largest administrative buildings. Just massive.
Huge, yeah. I've seen pictures. What else?
It also mentions the Romanian Athenaeum, a beautiful concert hall, the Village Museum, which is open air, Calea Victoriei for a grand avenue feel, and Herestro Park for green space.
Okay, quite a bit to see.
And for the evenings, it specifically mentions the Lipscani area, the historic Old Town, for buzzing nightlife.
Got it. So, moving on from the capital, the article takes us to Transylvania.
Yep. The name everyone knows, right? Instant brings up mystery, legends.
Dracula.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bran Castle is right there, featured as Dracula's castle.
Of course.
But the article is clear that Transylvania is way more than just that one castle. It talks a lot about the beautiful medieval towns like Brav, Sibiu.
And Sighiara.
And Sighiara, yeah. That one gets a special mention because it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow.
And, just to add to the whole legend thing, it's apparently the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler.
No way. Okay, so history and myth really intertwine there.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
The source also points to other castles. Corvin Castle, which looks amazing, very gothic, and Palais Castle, which is apparently super ornate, more like a fairy tale palace.
So lots of castles beyond Bran.
Definitely. And for drivers, it flags the Transfigurian Highway, calls it one of the world's most scenic drives. High praise.
That's the one Top Gear made famous, right? Looks incredible. Okay, so from castles and winding roads, where next?
To the mountains themselves, the Carpathians. The article presents them as, a total paradise for outdoorsy types. Hiking, skiing, wildlife.
Sound good. Any specific areas mentioned?
Yeah, for trekking. It highlights Piatra Craiului, sounds quite dramatic. Rocky ridges and the Făgăraia Mountains, which seem more like high peak challenges.
Okay.
And Retezat National Park gets a nod for having rare plants and animals.
And activities, what kind of stuff does it list?
Well, the obvious ones, hiking, climbing, but it also specifically mentions bear watching tours.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and winter sports, especially around Poiana Braeoff, plus mountain biking. Seems like you could spend a lot of time just exploring the mountains.
Definitely sounds like an adventurer's playground based on that description. So switching gears completely, the Danube Delta.
Right, a totally different environment. The article calls it Europe's best kept secret. And it's a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve.
So very protected, important ecosystem.
Exactly. The focus here, according to the source, is really on nature. It sounds ideal for birdwatchers, anyone who just loves wilderness.
What's it like there? What do you do?
The article describes cruising through canals, visiting these little fishing villages, eating super fresh fish,
Sounds nice.
and just soaking in the unique atmosphere. It mentions over 300 bird species, so the bird watching is apparently phenomenal. Main activities listed are things like boat tours, seems essential for getting around, staying in eco lodges, and maybe some fishing, a real contrast to the mountains or cities.
Absolutely. Okay, we've had cities, castles, mountains, wetlands. Is there a coast?
There is. The Black Sea coast. The article covers this too, focusing on sunny beaches and seaside resorts.
Like typical beach holiday spots.
Kind of. It lists resorts like Mamaia, which sounds quite lively, Constania, which is a bigger port city with beaches, and Vama Vesh, described as having a more bohemian or alternative vibe.
Okay, different flavors of beach towns.
Yeah, and the appeal. The article mentions summer parties, nightlife, water sports, beach clubs, but also just classic seaside relaxation. Good for families too.
So something for everyone on the coast as well. It's incredible how much variety this one country seems to hold, according to the source.
It really is. And there's one more area, or rather 2 regions, the article takes us to, describing them as Romania's cultural heartland. Maramuria and Bucovina up in the north.
Ah, the cultural heart. What makes them special?
The article presents them as places where traditional ways of life are really well preserved. You see it in things like these amazing wooden churches, people wearing folk costumes, local crafts.
Very distinct then.
Very. It highlights some specific, quite unique sites, like the Mary Cemetery in Sapania.
The Mary Cemetery, what's that?
It's famous for its brightly colored, hand-painted wooden grave markers with funny poems about the people buried there. Sounds incredible. Really unique.
Wow, that does sound unique.
And also the intricate wooden churches, like the one at Barsana. Plus, hugely important, the painted monasteries of Bucovina.
Painted monasteries?
Yeah, they're UNESCO World Heritage Sites, covered in these incredible exterior frescoes telling biblical stories. The Veronia Monastery is singled out for its famous, vibrant blue color, Veroni blue.
That sounds stunning. A must-see, I imagine.
Definitely seems like it from the description. The article also suggests checking out local markets in these regions and maybe even trying a rural homestay for a really authentic experience.
Right, getting immersed in that traditional culture. So yeah, we've really covered a lot of ground just following this one article. Cities, legends, mountains, wetlands, coast, traditional villages.
The diversity it presents is pretty staggering.
It really is. And then the article kind of shifts gears towards the end, doesn't it? It talks about actually planning a trip to see some of this.
Yes, it does. It mentions the platform it's presented on, FlightNHotels.com, as information within the source material itself.
Okay, so what does the source say about this service?
It suggests it's a tool for planning, basically. Lets you compare different options, flights, hotels, car rentals, all in one spot. The idea being it saves time, aggregates prices, might find you good deals.
Kind of a one-stop shop.
That's how the article frames it, yeah. Mentions it works for travelers globally, has a user-friendly setup, secure booking, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Suitable for different types of travelers, solo, families, groups.
And to make it concrete, the source even includes a sample itinerary, right?
It does. A suggested 10-day itinerary, just as an example pulled from the text, to show how you could combine these different regions.
How does that look?
It starts with days 1 to 2 in Bucharest city exploration, museums, hitting the old town at night.
Okay, logical start.
Then days 3 to 4, it suggests heading to Transylvania, focusing on the Braiov area and Bran Castle, mixing medieval sites with the nearby mountains.
Makes sense then.
Days 5-6, deeper into Transylvania Sibiu and Sighișoara. More medieval towns, local food, culture.
Right, soaking up that history.
Then a bigger jump for days 7-8 over to the Danube Delta. Boat trips, wildlife spotting, maybe staying in an eco-lodge.
Complete change of scenery.
Totally. And finally, days 9-10, it suggests rounding off on the Black Sea coast, maybe in Mamaia. Relaxing on the beach, seafood, enjoying the seaside vibe before heading home.
Wow, that really packs it in. Bucharest, Transylvania, the Delta, the coast. All in 10 days.
Yeah, it's just an example itinerary from the source, but it definitely highlights the sheer variety we've been talking about and how you could potentially link it together.
It certainly reinforces that hidden gem idea the article pushes. It suggests Romania offers this incredibly rich mix. Culture, adventure, history, relaxation, maybe more than people expect.
The article definitely leaves you with the impression of a country with many layers, a lot waiting to be discovered.
Which brings us nicely to our final thought for you, the listener, prompted by this deep dive into the source material. Thinking about everything this article presents, The medieval towns, Dracula's castle, the Carpathians, the Delta, the painted monasteries, the vibrant capital. Does Romania, as described here, kind of challenge your idea of what a single European country can hold?
And maybe thinking more broadly, how does discovering what the source calls a lesser explored treasure affect how you think about finding your next travel destination? Does it make you want to look beyond the usual suspects, something to ponder?